Let's talk about your thyroid gland and what your thyroid gland does and the hormones that are produced in your thyroid gland, what goes wrong very often, and whether or not there's anything you can actually do about it other than medication, because in a lot of cases you can actually address these thyroid issues through diet. Welcome to Shapefixer. I'm Andrew. I'm a nutritionist, and I really prefer my clients, my followers, people to be able to address medical issues as much as possible with diet and lifestyle choices rather than chemical interventions. As I say, where possible, and there are cases where absolutely, and you'll hear in this video too, that sometimes a medical intervention is absolutely critically necessary. So let's talk about the thyroid gland. Your thyroid gland sits in your neck here and is responsible for producing hormones that control your metabolism, that regulate your heart rate, your body temperature, your growth, the activity of your nervous system. So they're really, really important. And the most important one is called thyroxine. And things go wrong with our thyroid gland. Okay, you can have an overactive thyroid, which gives you a number of problems, or you can have an underactive thyroid, which gives you different problems. And we're going to talk about both. So firstly, I'm going to talk about what it means when you have an overactive thyroid. In other words, you're producing too much of the hormones that are supposed to be fulfilling these functions. That is called hyperthyroidism. Okay, hyperthyroidism is very often associated with Graves' disease. It's a medical diagnosis that will be made by your doctors. And when you are overproducing these hormones, your heart rate will be unnaturally high. You will suffer weight loss because your metabolism is up. And all the symptoms are associated with an increase in metabolic rate. So weight loss, nervousness, sweating, insomnia, elevated heart rate, and general weakness and exhaustion from all this activity that's going on in your body, relatively unregulated because you're overproducing these hormones. There's nothing you can do about that with diet, or not very much. You can modify your diet to control some of the symptoms, but you won't address the actual problem without medical intervention. So if you think you have an overactive thyroid or you're not sure, go and get it tested and speak to your doctor. Way more common, however, is an underactive thyroid, what we call hypothyroidism. And it's very common in modern society now, more so in women, but not only women. And studies have shown that somewhere in the region of 1 out of every 5 women over the age of 50 suffers from an underactive thyroid. So it's actually remarkably common, but it's not always diagnosed. And the reason for that is that the symptoms, most of the symptoms of hypothyroidism, are very similar to the general symptoms of menopause. And so women are not diagnosed necessarily because they come to the doctor with these symptoms and they're told, oh, it's menopause, and then it's tackled from that point of view. And of course, the treatment often doesn't work because that's not actually the problem. Now, sometimes when you have either hyper or hypothyroidism, any issue with your thyroid will swell and create a big bulge in your neck known as a goiter, and that is a visual clue, and the doctor will then pick up that it's a thyroid issue. If you don't develop a goiter, they're a lot less likely to realize that it's a thyroid problem, unless they do very specific blood tests to see if it's a thyroid problem. So not having a goiter does not mean it's not your thyroid. You may well have an underactive thyroid, not only women, an underactive thyroid that's causing fatigue, weight gain, because your metabolism is now too low, a low heart rate, depression, you feel cold a lot of the time, especially in your fingers and toes, you have constipation, and you might have quite a hoarse voice. The hoarse voice is a bit of a giveaway if you're thinking to confuse the other symptoms with menopause, okay? But you don't have all the symptoms. It'll be some collection of those symptoms. And in a few cases, it's a question of Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune system, and I've done videos on autoimmune conditions. I'm going to link one below here. Please go and have a look at that and see what the dietary issues are around general autoimmune conditions. But if you do suffer from Hashimoto's, then you need to tackle it as an autoimmune problem. But 90% of people with an underactive thyroid, it is a mere iodine deficiency in the diet. That's all it is. And we suffer from an iodine deficiency as a general population now because of the way we eat, because of what we eat. And the main reason is that the soil that our crops are grown in, or that the plants are grown in that feed the animals, if we're eating animal products, the soil is depleted of iodine. From decades and decades of agriculture, the iodine has not been replaced in the soil and it is now deficient. If you have a very seafood-oriented diet, or you live at the coast and you're eating animals that have been grazing near the coast where a lot of the salt from the sea will be putting iodine back into the soil, then you're probably better off. But most of the iodine is now in the world's oceans. So if you're not eating seaweed or fish or shellfish, you are probably going to be iodine deficient, and it might not be a chronic deficiency, so you won't develop a goiter, but you will have some of these symptoms. You need an iodine supplement. Now, you can increase your seafood and shellfish in particular and see if that helps alleviate some of your symptoms. I say again, if your symptoms are really extreme and if you have a big swollen neck, please go and get your thyroid tested so that you know exactly where you stand. And if you are on medication for your thyroid, don't start supplementing with iodine or iodine if you're American. Go and speak to your doctor about it first. But if you don't have a goiter and you're not being treated and you haven't been diagnosed as having a significant thyroid problem, but you suffer from exhaustion and fatigue and a low heart rate and depression and you feel the cold in your extremities, it is fairly likely that you have an iodine deficiency. Now, I don't promote particular products because I don't like to have my channel conflicted with any financial issues. I certainly don't accept any kind of sponsorships or any kind of commissions for anything. But I do want to talk to you about this. Where are you? Lugol's iodine. This you can get very easily from your pharmacy or your drugstore or on Amazon. Lugol 5%. Okay, so the 5%, and it has a dropper. And if you put 4 drops of this in a glass of, I don't know, water or juice or whatever you drink every day, that will be your full recommended daily allowance of iodine. 4 drops of Lugol's 5%. I take 5 drops because I want to make sure I've got enough. If you have more than you need, you will excrete it in your urine. Your body is very good at getting rid of a little bit of excess, so it's not a big deal. Your problem comes when you don't have enough. When you don't have enough iodine, your thyroid is unable to make the hormones that it needs to make to regulate your metabolism, your heart rate, your energy production, your energy processing, your nervous system, and you will suffer from all these common symptoms. And they will be, as I said, your doctor will tell you it's menopause, or if you're not at that stage of your life, or you're a man, you'll be told it's some other issue, general fatigue, you're not getting enough sleep, your diet's wrong, all of which could be true. But you may also just be deficient in iodine, because most of us are. So if you do this and you put 4 to 5 drops of Lugol's 5% iodine in a glass of water, in a drink, every day, within 2 weeks, you might feel the difference. You might feel your fatigue go away. You won't suffer from the cold so much. Your constipation will go away. You won't be as depressed. Your heart rate will come back up to normal. You may be amazed at how much better it makes you feel. It is absolutely worth it because it is so common and so not diagnosed very often. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to our channel. There are plenty of other videos I've made about various vitamins and minerals and supplements and things, and just general videos about health, about nutrition, about other aspects of your lifestyle that will affect your health, like exercise and sleep and stress management and all that sort of thing. And there are so many things we can do to control our own health without having to spend a whole lot of money on medications and without having to rush off to doctors and go for surgeries and expensive procedures. If we eat right and we supplement sensibly, we will be fine. Now, I don't generally recommend a massive amount of supplements because if you eat the right diet, you shouldn't need supplements. There are, of course, cases where you will, because this, for example, you're going to be deficient even if you are eating the right food, because the soil that our food all comes from now is generally deficient in iodine. Hopefully, this will solve your problems with your thyroid and get your hormones back in balance. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to our channel.